Welcome to the Elite BSC podcast, where our entire focus is helping commercial janitorial contractors succeed. You want a growing company, a thriving team, and healthy profits, and we are here to help. My name is Jordan Tong. I'm the founder of Elite BSC, a company dedicated to helping janitorial companies grow and thrive. I also serve as CEO and one of the owners of France Building Services. France is a janitorial company employing nearly 600 people. Since 2007, we grew from 1.5 million to more than 20 million in annual revenue and built what I think is one of the best teams in the world. The goal of Elite BSC and this podcast is to give owners in the industry a vision of where their company can be and the information and tools to get there. I want to share what I have learned over the years to make this a reality for you. Hey, it's Jordan here with the Elite BSC podcast. So this is going to be the last of a series we're doing on janitorial marketing. So it's been 3 parts so far, and this is going to be part 4 on nurturing prospects. I think there's been, probably as you guys get these podcasts, there's been a delay. I have been on a fishing trip for the last 2 weeks. I took my 4 boys and my dad. We went to Wisconsin for a couple days and then went up into Canada and did a fly-in fishing trip, and didn't have any cell phone service, no internet service, no TVs, no roads. They dropped us off at a lake somewhere on a float plane and then left us there for 5 days, and we ate and fished and talked and did that over and over and over for 5 days, and it was a lot of fun. Very refreshing, and it's beautiful in Canada. Absolutely beautiful. So, trying to get back in the swing of things this week. It's been a little bit of a challenge trying to get my brain back in working order and sort of down to earth again on some of the practical things that need to be done. So, anyway, we pick up right here. So, this is the last part in this series on janitorial marketing. Now, the first 3 that I did, the very first one was on developing your ideal client profile, which is sort of the first step that needs to happen in the process. Who is it that you're going to go after? What do they look like? What's the DNA of the ideal customer that you want? And documenting that and sort of having a record of that, and then using that, which was moved into part 2, to build your list. So going out and finding companies that meet that criteria. So go finding organizations within your geography that match the vertical market segment and the size that you're looking for. And those are really the three, as you're developing your ideal client profile, the 3 main categories you're looking at is geography. So like, how far out are you willing to go? What's the geography that the client needs to be in before it's a viable one for you? The vertical market segment, meaning what type of business or facility is it? So is it commercial office? Is it retail? Is it medical? That sort of thing. And then lastly was the size of the facility. So either square footage, or I think a better metric is number of occupants in the building on a given day. And so we developed an ideal client profile, and then we go on to build a list of the people that match up with that profile. And the idea is that we would try to do that in a comprehensive way in the geography that we want to work in. And then we move on to the next step in the process, which is trying to gather information. And in particular, what we're looking for is a decision maker name and a status of the contract. So we'd like to know, are they going to be bidding soon? Where are they at in the bid cycle? Are they happy? Do they plan to bid next year? Where do we stand? Which will help us to know when we need to go and really focus some effort to try to get in front of this client so that we get an opportunity to bid when that time comes up. So this moves us on to the last step in the marketing process. The last thing that we do before we get someone that wants to engage with us, or that leads up to someone wanting to engage with us, is we need to be able to nurture. So the whole part of the thing we're doing with marketing is we want to go that step 3 of identifying decision maker and outsource status. That's going to be an ongoing process because it's difficult to get that information. And because people don't respond to emails necessarily super well because they're getting bombarded, and phone calls are often difficult to get through, so you end up leaving voicemail. So it just takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time and energy, I guess. It's not going to you're not going to shake the tree and the fruit's going to fall from it. You got to go climbing and reaching out there to make that stuff happen. So that process is going to be ongoing. So maybe the next question is, all right, let's say we've identified some prospects that meet the ideal client profile, and we've also found a decision maker, and we know the name of the person. Maybe we've talked to them, maybe we haven't talked to them, and we know they outsource, but they're pretty happy, or they're going to bid in 2 years or whatever. There's no immediate need where they're like, yes, come on down now. We need to talk to somebody. So what do you do now? You're sort of stuck in this phase of, well, I can't force a sale, because you certainly can't. You can't generate a need or a sense of urgency for them, because that's something you can't do. That has to happen on its own apart from you. And so we have to have a little bit of a different goal or perspective here. And so the thing that we've adopted here at our company, and as we've done some sales trainings on this kind of thing, is we want to be seen as, we want to be next in line. Or you could, to use a baseball analogy, we want to be on deck. We want to be when the time comes for them to bid their services again. So maybe when the contract is up and they plan to bid in a year or two or whatever, we want to be on that bid list. Or perhaps they don't have a time where they're going to bid, but at some point their contractor is going to slip up. Something might happen. We want to be next in line. We want to be the next person that they talk to. And so I guess the question I ask myself is, okay, how do we obtain that status or that position in the eyes of the prospect? And so I think there's two things that we need to try to do in order to gain that position in their eyes. And I think we need to establish ourselves as credible and capable. Or you can say trustworthy and capable. So we need them to start to see that we are credible, like that we know what we're talking about, or that we're reliable, we're trustworthy, like we're legit. Okay, hey, we trust you enough to be able to engage with you. We want to foster that sort of that sort of thing to where that's the vibe that they get from us. And then we want to communicate that we're capable. So a lot of prospects, particularly if you're going after larger customers, they're bombarded with tons of people asking to quote their business, etc. And a lot of them are not qualified to do it on these bigger accounts in particular. And so what we want to do is establish ourselves as, hey, we're legit. Like, we know what we're talking about. We take care of customers your size. We know the ins and outs. We know the frustrations that you feel. We know what issues pop up. We know how to resolve those issues. We know the things that you're thinking about. We know the challenges that you might be facing, some of the unanswered questions that you might have. So I think on an ongoing basis, if we can demonstrate that, we're going to position ourselves as capable in their eyes. So if our tone and messaging is right and our consistency is right, we should be able to develop some of the credibility and trustworthiness. And then if our message is right, we should be able to foster in them a sense of our capabilities to take care of their facility. So this all sounds good in theory, that we should be those things. And I think that's right. I think this is how we need to position ourselves. And so then the next question that comes up logically is, okay, well, how do we do that? How do I get from, I'm here in my office, how do I translate this? How do I get this credibility and capability vision in front of the prospect? Now, this is difficult to do. There's no question. I certainly think that, having good social proof is what I would call it. So having Google reviews and having a website and perhaps a social media presence that everything looks professional and, it exudes these credibility, capability, sort of adjectives for your company. And I do think that's important, but that's a bit more of a passive approach or an inbound approach, and I don't think it necessarily comes into play until the person is ready to actually make a move. But I think you need to have those there. So we could say that that's the first box we need to check, is make sure all of our the online proofs are there, which is going to be a professional website that is up to date and it reflects what you want to reflect about your company, and that there's some social proof on perhaps Google reviews, maybe a social media page, that sort of thing, where they could go online and start searching for you and see, oh yeah, these guys are legit. Here's what people are saying about them. Look at their website. This is up to date. They know what they're talking about. We can tell by their website that they have the size and scope that we're looking for in a company. So those are some boxes that you certainly need to check. And then I think we have to push ourselves. Also, we'll say this is maybe part 2 of this. We need to push ourselves in front of these prospects. And, as I see it, there's really only 3 ways. And this sounds so old school, but I don't know how to avoid this. So, I think phone calls are a piece of this, 100%. Now, I have a lot of marketing folks working for me doing marketing work on behalf of janitorial clients. And we do find that phone calls are difficult. We find if they're researched and you're calling, it's difficult to get through to the right person. It's difficult to get through to someone at all. And most people don't answer their phone. So even if you have the right name, you're going to leave a voicemail. And, chances of someone calling back they're probably 1 in 500. So we do have it happen occasionally, but it's not very frequent. Might be closer to 1 in 1,000 where that actually happens. But that being said, it doesn't mean someone's not hearing our voicemail. It doesn't mean someone's not aware that we're reaching out. So we want to do that in a consistent manner. We want to do that in a professional manner. We don't want to bombard or overwhelm. But the sort of the slow, steady drip of reaching out via phone, I think, is one part of it. And I think the corollary to that is, or the flip side of that coin is personalized emails. So I do think that, sending like an article, for instance, to an email list that maybe would help establish some credibility could certainly be helpful. And we do that a lot for our clients. So we have, their entire prospect list with all these emails on it, and we'll write content and put it on their website, and we'll email out to those folks. And some of that stuff does get read. It often doesn't get responded to because people don't have that immediate sense of urgency, but it is a way for us to establish credibility and trust. And I think having some articles on your website are helpful in that regard. But then I would encourage, when I talk about emails here, I guess I'm specifically thinking about one-on-one individualized emails to the decision makers that you're trying to get in touch with. And this is another thing that we do for our clients, and we do this at our company, France, as well, is we'll go in and we'll look at who is the decision maker at this place. What is this facility? Where are they located? What's the facility look like? And then we'll send a personalized email that lets them know, just sort of in the body of the email, that we've done our homework, that we indicate that, let's say it's a private school, and we know where their campus is, and et cetera, and we know what's important to private schools and the facility managers there. And then we also, maybe we take care of a few other private schools, and so we name drop in this email, and we personalize this. Hey, Mr. Facility Manager, we know you guys are currently outsourced right now, and we hope that relationship's going well for you, and maybe outline some of the possible pain points they have. We take care of these other schools. We've been in there for X amount of years and do a good job for them. If you ever have a need that arises, or, if we can come in and have a conversation, we're open to that. And we get on these kinds of emails, we get good responses. We don't get a lot of responses because, again, it's you're sort of a little bit shotgunning here. Like you're sending the messaging out, and the responses are going to be minimal. But we're positioning ourselves to when they're ready to talk. You're going to be on top of the list. And you can think about this. Like, how many times do you build a home in your lifetime? Like, it's typically once. And so contractors could reach out to me all the time. And there may be times when I would read stuff that they would send, and I see their messaging and their branding. But there's really only, when I'm ready to build a home is when I'm ready to talk to somebody. And so in the same way, when a client is ready to bid, that's when they're going to be ready to talk to somebody. But in the meantime, we want to communicate with them at a regular cadence so that when that time comes, we're on deck. We are next in line. And that's the whole goal of nurturing. So you could do some different things in nurturing. You may try some different tactics than us. Maybe do some direct mail. We're experimenting with some of that, and I think there can be some benefit in that. And we're sort of aligning that very targeted mailings with handwritten notes, and then aligning that with emails and phone call follow-ups as well. Kind of old school, but super targeted. But you may have a different approach, but the idea of nurturing is sort of the same, that we're wanting to position ourselves to be ready when they're ready. And really this sums up the marketing process. And it's not complicated. It's not complex or a large process. It's just something that requires a thoroughness and a constant plotting and walking in the same direction that will achieve results in the long term. I've seen it happen for us. I'm starting to see it for some of the clients that we're working for, and I know this works. And to be quite honest, even though it works, I also know there's not a lot of alternatives to choose from in this process. There's no silver bullets, if you will. And so I think this process is tried and true, and until something else pops up that seems to surpass it or take its place, we're going to continue in this lane and keep doing that, and I hope you do the same. If I can ever be of help, our group, our Elite BSC group, we've got tons of resources about this. You can always reach out to me, Jordan@elitebsc.com. I can give you resources or chat about helping you with your marketing. We're always ready for that. So listen, I hope this 4-part series was helpful, and in the next episode, we'll dive into something new. Until then, hope all goes well in your company, and we'll see you next time. If you found the information in this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you're using. If you would like more resources or help to grow your cleaning company, head over to elitebsc.com. We have loads of articles, videos, free tools, coaching options, and a lot more. If your company is greater than $500K in revenue and you want to take your learning experience to the next level, check out our mastermind group. You can learn more about that at elitebsc.com/mastermind.